Hey guys, what if I told you that there was a movie that won the Academy Award for Best Movie, Best Actor, and Best Screenplay, and it's about stuttering? Well, it doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. Uh, Wait a second, Steve. I thought The King's Speech was that. I thought it won Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Screenplay, and it's about stuttering, right? Uh, no, it's not about that. Uh, Steve, I'm pretty sure that's what the King's Speech is about. It's about King George VI and how he overcame his stammer with the help of a speech coach, Lionel Logue, right? No, again, you're wrong. All right, because the movie, well, it sounds like a cruel joke, right? If you think about like, okay, so it's a movie about a guy who reluctantly becomes king and he has a speech problem, and we're going to watch this for 2 hours. Sounds horrible. Sounds like a horrible reality TV show. Today we got George. George has a speech impediment. He is now going to lead the nation during World War II against Adolf Hitler, talking on the radio. You're like, what the hell is this? This is crazy. No, not watching that. And you want to know why? Because it's not about that. The King's Speech is not about stuttering, folks. The same way that Rocky is not about boxing. The original Rocky is not about boxing. The original Rocky was a love story, but it was disguised as a boxing movie. All right. So, Steve, what the heck is the King's Speech about? It's about the power of friendship. That's what it's about. How? Okay. So we'll call him Prince Albert because he's Prince Albert. He became King George VI. So I'm going to call him Albert, Prince Albert, for the sake of this speech. So the story is about Prince Albert and his friendship with Lionel Logue, his speech therapist. Okay. And it's through their friendship that Albert is able to overcome his stutter and not only change his stutter, but change the course of his entire life. To quote Euripides, one friend is worth 1,000 relatives. Okay? There are a few pivotal moments of the movie that best highlight their friendship. But before they even met, Prince Albert was a lonely guy, he was a lonely man. Okay? Aside from his wife and his kids, he didn't have any friends. Okay? He had a council, he had the royal staff, he had nannies, he had a bunch of yes men. But he didn't have anyone to connect with. He didn't have anyone to confide in. He didn't have anyone to call him out on his BS, like a friend. Hence, when they first meet, Lionel and Prince Albert butt heads. Okay? Prince Albert doesn't want to do the methods. He thinks they're stupid, a waste of time. What's the point? But eventually he warms up to the idea and they start working together. And through working together, doing various drills and elocution lessons, they form a friendship. So one of the moments that I want to talk about is the parts where probably 2, 3, 4, 5 years into their friendship, Lionel asked Prince Albert about the source of his stuttering. Like, hey man, like when did you start stuttering? And he tells him that, yeah, I started stuttering when I was 5. I had a nanny that was very abusive to me. She would, pinch me. She would starve me. She starved me for like 3 years. I was teased by my brother, Prince Edward, and I had an overbearing father, the king, King George, that I was scared of. And on top of that, I was naturally left-handed, and they forced me to use my right hand. So all of these factors, I believe, played a role in my stuttering. To tell another person of your childhood trauma like that just showcases the amount of trust that you need in another human being, the amount of trust you need in a friend to do that. That's heavy. I have friends I've had for years that I haven't talked about my, childhood trauma or whatever, right? But that just goes to show you how powerful their friendship was. And there's another scene right after King Edward is abdicated from the throne, and the crown is now given to Prince Albert. And Prince Albert is petrified. It's like, I can't be king. I have a speech impediment. I cannot be king. Of course, he's not as fluid. He's blocking. He's doing all this. And they're at Westminster Abbey, and he's pacing back and forth. He's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't be king. I can't be king. And meanwhile, when he's not looking, Lionel goes and he sits in St. Edward's chair, which is where the kings become, it's called the coronation chair. It's where they get coronated. And he's sitting in the chair, he's like King Lear or something, like in a chair like this. And Prince George turns his back around and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's the king's chair. He's like, yeah, but you said you can't be king. So why can't I sit here? Like, you're not king. You don't think you'd be a king. So like, why can't I sit here? He's like, blah, 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 blah. He's blocking. He's trying to get the words out. He becomes frustrated. He's like, well, you said that you don't want to be king. So why should I listen to you? And finally, I love this part. He's like, because I have a voice. Because I have a voice. I am king. Get out of that chair. No, damn it. And Lionel's just like, okay, cool. See, that's friendship right there. That is friendship. I dare another commoner to try that with the soon-to-be king, all right? Because a good friend will call you out on your nonsense. They'll call you out on your BS. They'll keep you in check. And that's brilliant. I can love that scene. I'm trying not to curse right now. I get a little passionate. And finally, he becomes king, right? And now it's the onset of World War II. Hitler is about to invade Europe. And now more than ever, they need a king. And they had the speech all written for him. And now it's his moment, his 8-mile moment. All right. And he walks down the corridor, he's got his yes men kind of like look at him like chilling. Well, you can do it, man. You can do it. You can do it. And he finally gets to that room where it's like the windows are blocked out and there's like a condenser mic hanging from the ceiling or whatever. And then they're like, all right, Your Majesty, 30 seconds. And then the person leaves, and then like King George, he's now King George, is just nervous. He's sweating. He's just, heart rate going 1,000 miles per hour. And there's his friend Lionel in front of him. He's like, forget all this. Just pretend you're speaking to a friend. And George is, and then George knocks it out of the park, man. It was a grand slam. He gave an incredible speech. Like it was the best performance that he had given, like in the film. And it was such a exhilarating, triumphant moment, like, we're all cheering and all that. And the speech is over, and King George, this happens like after you perform, you're like, how was it? Was it good? And like true test of friendship right here is what Lionel says. He says, I mean, yeah, you stuttered on the W's a little bit, but otherwise it's pretty good, right? Again, like total friendship thing, to which the king retorts, well, I had to stutter a little bit, otherwise they would know it was me, right? And I just love that moment so much. And to me, that this movie, again, it's not about stuttering, it's about the power of friendship and how we can overcome whatever's holding ourselves back with outside help with a friend. So that's my takeaway of the movie. And I want to conclude my speech with reading the King's Speech, the very one at the end of the movie. And I'm not going to read it in a British accent. I'm not going to. It's going to take away from it. So here we go. In this great hour, perhaps the most fateful in our history, I send to every household of my peoples, both at home and overseas, this message, spoken with the same depth of feeling for each one of you, as if I were able to cross your threshold and speak to you myself. For the second time in the lives of most of us, we are at war. Over and over again, we have tried to find a peaceful way out of the differences between ourselves and those who are now our enemies. But it has been in vain. We have been forced into a conflict, for we are called to meet the challenge of a principle which, if it were to prevail, would be fatal to any civilized order in the world. Such a principle, stripped of all disguise, is surely the mere primitive doctrine that might is right. For the sake of all that we ourselves hold very dear, it is unthinkable that we should refuse to meet the challenge. And it is to this high purpose that I now call upon my people at home and my people across the seas who will make our cause their own. I ask them to stand calm and firm and united in this time of trial. Excuse my handwriting. The task will be hard. There may be dark days ahead, and war can no longer be confined to the battlefield, but we can only do the right as we see right and commit ourselves and our cause to God. If one and all, we keep our faith to it, and then with God's help, we shall prevail. Thank you.